In episode number 295 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover DC's streaming service.
We also talk about superstar artist Mitch Gerad and his contract renewal with his exclusive work for DC.
And our comic book highlight this week is The Nightmare Before Christmas Zero's Journey #1.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and so much more. I am your Emperor Kelli.
And I am Darth Vader Daniel.
And for those of you joining us for the very first time, welcome to the show. We start out with some news covering all those things I just mentioned. We have the Brocat block, some Patreon shoutouts, and finally a comic book highlight of the week.
I want to take a second to thank all the Brocat Core members for tuning in to last week when we took a break from our regular weekly routine and had my best friends Clayton and Mr. Riggs on from my episode up when I was in C2E2. So to any new listeners, this is what the regular episodes are going to be moving forward. Or if you just joined us last week, this is, for all intents and purposes, the podcast. But with that out of the way, let's jump into our news for the week.
Starting off with some DC Comics, through a partnership between DC Comics and Titans Books, prose novel adaptions and spin-offs of some really great, amazing books, some of our favorites. We have Batman the Court of Owls, Batman the Killing Joke, and Harley Quinn Mad Love will begin releasing later this year.
I saw a comment online that says, because there's nothing like taking a visual medium like comic books and taking it into a whole new story that was never meant to be a visual representation. Do you think this is a waste of time? Do you think that these are too big of works to ever bother making a prose version of them?
So maybe I'm being ignorant. You need to explain to me what a prose version is.
A regular book, words, black and white, no images.
Fan fiction.
Pretty much. I guess so, yeah.
Then do it. Have these people never read fan fiction? Do you think Dragon Ball Z was ever meant to be a love story? And those are some of the greatest works out there.
I don't know how many shops are gonna take the dive on these. I mean, I'm sure our store will probably order one of each and just see how they do. But this is basically gonna be the exact same thing as the comic book. But the author that they did get, it's not gonna be Scott Snyder. It's not gonna be Paul Dini or Bruce Timm. These are gonna be specific authors that do this for a living. They take other mediums like movies or TV shows, in this case comic books, and they adapt them into regular novels, into regular books. So if you were to ever read one of these, there's probably going to be an expansion on what Batman's thinking as he's trying to find the Court of Owls, the madness that Harley Quinn goes through as she falls for the Joker and loses her mind. So do you think this is something that you and I, as fans of all of these works, are going to be even trying out?
Yes, I want all of them.
You want all three?
I want all three of them.
And you'll have time to read all three?
Nope, but I want all three of them. I think, look, I know why people are upset about this and why they think it can't work and la la la, I get it. But I will say that the way that you write a comic is very different from how you write a novel, in the sense of you're writing a script and the artist you work with the artist to kind of portray that emotion. But when you can actually read it, and if you get the right author to say, like you said, this is how you're feeling, to dive more into those emotions, because it's not going to be just word for word what's in the comic. They're going to have to expand a little bit. And so you have the potential to make something really cool, really amazing. For example, in fan fiction, but they can take a lot of the same scenarios that you just watched on TV and then expand on it, of course, in the character's mind and flashbacks and them thinking about all these other things. And then you go, oh shit, I never thought about it that way. And that's where I have lived for many of my years.
These adaptions are perfect for junior high and high school students.
And Kelly's.
Who are told they have to do a book report. They have to find a summer reading, and they're going to choose Batman the Killing Joke, the prose novel adaptation. Never read it because they have the comic and they have it memorized, and they'll just do a book report on the comic itself.
Speaking of book reports, I had to write a book report in Spanish once, off a Spanish book. And I chose Like Water for Chocolate because I had seen the movie and read that the movie was very similar. And I got an A.
There are ways to cheat, and this is going to be one of them.
I think that this is a fine idea. Leave it alone. Mad Love, the prose adaptation can be for the moms out there who just want to feel that spark again.
It's also good for, I mean, it comes down to if you don't like it, you've got the fucking comic books. Don't buy these.
You don't have to buy it.
Here's something that I am bothered by, and I know we had covered this a few months back when DC started doing the $3.99s with DC Rebirth, and apparently, like, me and Bobby on Twitter were the only ones that were like, what the hell? Everyone else was like, yeah, I mean, $3.99 is the standard. It's fine. They weren't upset. But DC Comics is going to increase all titles in the line of DC Universe books, so basically the books in continuity currently, with the exception of the New Age of DC Heroes, because those are new characters and they still want to push those. Those are going to stay at $2.99, but every other title, including the ones that come out twice a month, are moving up $1 or staying at the $3.99 price point.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the standard now. I don't know. I can see why it's frustrating to many people. I can see why it's frustrating to you, especially with the second piece of information that we're going to cover. But at the same time, they're a business.
When we looked at the numbers on DC and Marvel and Independent, DC made less dollar-wise as far as dollar shares, but they sold more number of books, more copies. So while Marvel was making more money for the industry, they were selling less comics. So that's one thing that DC Rebirth really did right, and we praise DC for, is that they had the $2.99 titles. Even though some of them were twice a month, it equaled out to $2 extra a month to get an extra comic a month, essentially. And then that some of them had the digital titles on them, so the ones that were $3.99, they gave you the digital comic book or the digital code along with it. And that's when they first raised them to $3.99, were the once-a-month titles that went up $1, and we were like, fuck. And then they said, no, but we're giving you the digital version. It's like, so a lot of people, what they did is they take that code, they throw it up on eBay for $1, and their book is still $2.99 in that way. But when they first made that price increase, I was upset, but no one else seemed to bat an eye. People that I talked to at the comic shop, like regular customers, they didn't care. They were like, okay, I mean, the stories have been good, and they have been. And I think that's why a lot of readers excuse them for that. But this major change of now all of them, including the twice a month, are moving up $1 to $3.99. This one definitely sparked some negativity from readers, from DC fans towards the publisher, because of this other move that they also made, in which they are removing the free digital codes for their physical $3.99 comic books.
You know why they're doing that?
Why is that?
Because B-Chance be putting up those codes on eBay for $1.
So retailers were never informed of this change ahead of time. It just got sprung up on us. And retailers were quick to point out that, hey, Marvel hasn't removed their digital codes. In fact, they brought them back when readers got upset at them. Granted, they were in a much rougher position at the time. They're trying to move these titles, and they said, I'm sorry, we didn't know you guys actually used them. So here you go, they're back. And now DC's going, we're outselling Marvel in terms of copies, in terms of number of books. We're raising it $1, which it's like, okay, they're no longer, I know the Hold the Line at $2.99 was a New 52 thing. It was never a Rebirth thing, but that's what they started with when they started off this line. And I remember when I went to the Retailer Summit, Dan DiDio someone asked him, like, how long are you going to keep the $2.99 title or the price? And he said, for at least a year. And that's when it's like, okay, we know there's going to eventually be some kind of increase. And it looks like the time has coming now. And now all the titles are going up to that $3.99 price point. I tried to find some information out there to see if the page numbers were going up as well. And DC didn't have an official like press release about this that said, hey, with the extra $1 come extra pages on the twice a monthers. I didn't see that. So I'm going to have to physically count out the pages when this change comes up in, I believe, July.
I'm still not upset. I mean, I get that you're upset, and I get, again, why people are upset. But like you've heard, like people have said, they still are sending out great stories. If Marvel had great stories, we probably wouldn't be upset, but their stories are shitty. But DC has some, amazing stories that we're reading, that we're enjoying, that I have no problem paying $3.99 for. However, comic books do not come out of my paycheck. So.
Yeah, as you said, $3.99 is the standard. It's Marvel that's trying to do like the $5.99, $9.99
And
sometimes.
that's crazy. If DC went, now they're going to be $4.99. I'd
Oh,
be like,
for
whoa,
fuck.
calm down.
I do still like when people come in and, when I was growing up, the comics were $1. And I'm like, yep, inflation's a bitch.
Comics were a nickel. Okay, Grandpa.
It's like, yeah, a nickel was like $2-3 today. Let's relax. I'm sure when I get old, when in 40 years, comics due to inflation will probably be $5.99 to $9.99.
Oh, I'm sure.
So bad, then I can be like, in my day, they were $2.99 when they were holding the line.
And Leo can be like, okay, Dad. My dad remembers when they were like cheap as hell too. He used to collect them. Of course, he threw them away.
Yeah,
but he's spouting a lot of old man jokes now because he's turning 60 this year.
Mhm.
So he's feeling it.
Yeah, I know I've seen some reactions online from the internet, and the internet never equals what the consumer actually ends up spending or what they end up doing. Because if that were the case, then Marvel would be selling a lot of these titles that they now canceled, like the diverse line and all of that. So I haven't seen online a lot of people like, well, I guess I'm done with DC, no more. But that happened the first time they increased the prices on some of their once a year, and I still get people coming in and buying them. Some don't even notice the dollar increase. The first time they didn't notice. They do notice when it's like a $5.99 $9.99 because the book physically feels thicker too. But I picked out some reactions online that some of which I disagree with. Like, yeah, I'm against the increase to $3.99, but again, at least it's not the $5.99 to $9.99. I'll just begrudgingly pay for these still really good stories so far that DC has been putting forward.
You know it's free? Fan fiction.
You and your fan fiction.
I'm going to push. I could, again, do a fan fiction podcast. I'm waiting for that day. When we hit that Patreon goal, I'm doing a fan fiction podcast.
So one of the reactions that I picked out from Newsarama was, quote, "There's a simple fix for the price that I don't understand why Marvel and DC hasn't tried yet. Get back to selling ads. Almost every ad in Marvel and DC books these days are in-house ads. DC has ads for other Time Warner projects like TV shows and movies, and of course, ads previewing future DC books. Marvel also runs a lot of Disney house ads and previews," end quote.
You know what ads were shitty? Those Snickers ads in
Oh my God, yes.
DC books. And that's why they don't run ads, because they suck. And again, so you're not making the revenue from selling ads, but you're now promoting your other things that people are going to go and buy, and now your company's making more money.
Yeah, that does work out better. Now, his theory, though, of if you allow other companies, outside companies, to come in and pay for those ads, then maybe they could keep that price point down. But instead, I guess increase it by $1 and then continue promoting the things that you do have. And the way that comics work as far as Warner Brothers and DC Entertainment and DC's cinematic universe is they're all separate companies that still pay one another under the big umbrella that is Time Warner. So as Dan DiDio said before, like the DC division that does the TV shows are still paying for these ads. They're paying the comic division of DC. So they're all kind of running independently of each other, even if they are promoting the exact same umbrella. But the people up top are looking at these individually and saying, okay, which one is faltering? Which one's losing money here? Where should we cut over there? So because of that, they do have to still sell to one another in spite of it all being DC. Marvel seems to run a little bit differently. They're all owned by Disney, and they get told, hey, make sure you put Wakanda in every book this month, and they have to do it. So for them, they don't have to worry so much about, you need to, pay me to get your ad in here. Someone up top, someone at Disney or someone somewhere has that position of this month, we're going to run this ad. Throw it in there. So it's fascinating how different these two giant companies are working.
I like the way DC runs things. It just makes more sense.
There's another quote here from someone that took it all very lightly and instead kind of enjoyed everyone's negative reaction to the news.
Quote, "I haven't laughed so hard reading such immature responses. Is it any wonder the business is kicking and screaming a slow death trying to appeal to the whims of such a fickle audience, mostly grown men at that? Won't buy this, won't buy that. How dare they? Just step back and take a breath and look at how ridiculous you all sound. But thank you. I haven't laughed this hard in a long time." End quote. Good for them.
Little silver lining in that man's life. First world problems. It's true. I mean, sure.
I laugh at people complaining all the time. I follow that rants and raves for a local city.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another one today, and I was just laughing. And I'm like, really? This is what we're worried about? But whatever.
It's whatever you guys think. If you are buying comics currently, I know a good amount of our listeners aren't staying current with books, but if you are, let us know what you think of this current change that is going to take place in July. Some more changes for DC. Music artist Gerard Way has confirmed that the line of DC's Young Animals comics are going to be taking a hiatus this summer.
This blew my mind. Gerard Way is doing comics?
He did Umbrella Academy many years ago.
Did I know he did comics?
I don't think you did. We had talked about Young Animals before, but with Gerard Way, Umbrella Academy sells even to this day. Like, you know, younger girls, teenage girls still buy those comics. I don't know where he's advertising it. Maybe it's on Twitter or on Facebook. But
Young
Umbrella
girls
Academy
follow Gerard Way?
Yeah, they still, like, high schoolers come in and they buy Umbrella Academy.
But I thought, like, when I was in high school, Gerard Way was... He was the guy from Green Day, right?
I believe so,
Does he put Green Day lyrics in all his comics?
I don't know where he's promoting it. Like, good for him, though, because you have to forever appeal to the younger audiences. Yeah. And that's tough to do because music tastes change all the time, generation to generation. So if you're able to pierce that and go through several generations and still sell your music and your books, then that is success.
Green Day was all about teen angst. They will be around forever because that is all teenagers are, is angst.
Yeah, but they need the person to sound like what they think teen angst sounds like. And if he's out of touch, then they're never going to buy his books.
Always sounds like when I was a young boy.
I never liked Green Day.
That was My Chemical Romance.
Same shit. Same bullshit.
Maybe he sells a lot to Canadian markets because they're so nice and they feel bad. And they're like, oh, I'll buy another one, eh? He is Canadian, right? Green Day was Canadian?
Probably. Okay. I don't know.
All right.
I don't care. So Gerard Way, in a statement to Comics Beat News, said, quote, I want to give everyone an update on Young Animal. In August, Shade, Cave Carson, and Mother Panic will end at issue 6 as we originally planned, alongside Eternity Girl. It's been an incredible run for each of them, and I'm so thankful to all the writers and artists who began this journey with me and who created such incredible stories. End quote.
He said that way less angsty than I expected. I don't know why.
Should have been.
I just expected him to be the super angsty guy, not as intelligent as he sounded.
He should write a song about his books. They got canceled, guys. Like, I know he's like, well, it was planned as 6 issues.
What was Green Day's big song? They had
American
that really
Idiot.
Big one. Oh, I'm canceling all of my comic books right now. Dun, dun, dun.
Sounds a lot happier though. These books did not sell. They simply did not, and a few of them were plagued with delays as well, so that's already like a nail in the coffin for a lot of titles, especially something that's pseudo-independent, like DC's Young Animal line was, and it aimed at his readers, at his listenership as well, and they really did not come out to buy these. They're more graphic novel buyers than they are individual issues. It's harder to get a younger reader to come in every month to pick up a comic, as opposed to, I wonder if that new graphic novel of Gerard Way's is out. Like, on a whim, they'll go out and they'll check, and if it is, great, they'll buy it, like Umbrella Academy. But something like Young Animals, the older readers weren't really getting into it. We gave a few of them a shot. It wasn't for us. And I do hope that they sell his volumes, but he's going to have to promote it the same way that he did Umbrella Academy. Right.
Hopefully. I mean, I'm glad that he's still doing something now that his music career is over or whatever else he's doing.
I'm sure he's fine. This does make room for Neil Gaiman's Sandman Universe books that launch in August. So
and we're so excited.
That immediately told me that DC went, all right, so if these books don't sell this number by this summer, which is when the contract ends, when the 6-issue run is done, when we won't renew for another 6 issues or another 12 issues, whatever it is, depending on the comic, then we're going to cut it. And that made room for Neil Gaiman's. And this probably happened a while back where they said, okay, we're going to cancel these. Neil Gaiman's contract's coming up. Let's see what we can do here. And now, look, lo and behold, now Neil Gaiman's is about to start right as Gerard Way's ends. And some people might say, well, why don't they just do both instead of canceling one line and starting another? But you don't want to flood your walls.
Yeah.
You don't want to flood the market with too many titles at once. The budget is only so much for a lot of readers, and if you do have too many titles out there, then that's when people start having to make a decision between certain books, as opposed to, I like these titles, I'm going to sub to all of them, instead, I really like that one, but I can only afford this many.
And we've run into that issue, I mean, in the many years that we've been collecting comics, where it's, okay, I can only purchase X amount of comic books, let me choose the best of the best. And so, really, they're not going to spend their money to continue having these books put out when you have something like Sandman coming.
Neil Gaiman?
Yeah, that's huge. Like, people are not going to choose Gerard Way over, well, except, I guess, the teenagers.
So, and even then, they weren't. So,
well,
they're not there. As we said at the opening, comic artist Mitch Gerad has renewed his exclusive contract with DC Comics. He put this out on Twitter.
Ooh, he is currently working on Mr. Miracle, which we have been loving, and had previously collaborated with Tom King on the ongoing Batman, which is also amazing.
That rooftops issue or arc, I think it was 2 issues, where they're running through the rooftops, Batman, Catwoman.
When he proposes.
It's before all that. But it's when they first started hinting at, like, this is going to be an ongoing romance in the story. That's when Mitch was in MegaCon. I think it was last year, actually. Yeah, it was last year. And I was like, man, this artist is fucking amazing.
Yes, I remember.
We went to go see him on that Thursday. Tom King, long-ass line, right? Mitch Gerrad's no line at all, doing commissions, just sitting there twirling a pencil. And I was like, oh, it's Mitch Gerrad's. I need a commission. And he's like, yep, headshots for $50. I was like, yeah, can I get Catwoman? Because we just read Rooftops and it was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And, like,
I remember.
He was just like, okay.
And had the yellow in it that he drew for us. Yes.
That was Mitch Gerrad's. So I was, and he wasn't talkative at all. Like, I was like, we really enjoyed the story. She loves Batman and Catwoman. And he was like, oh, thanks. And I was like, all right, well.
We tried.
Good talk. So I don't even know how much a commission, if he's even taking commissions anymore, because
it's gonna be so much more.
He has since blown up. Mm-hmm. He has done not only bigger work in that, like he really ramped up in Batman, but then now with Mr. Miracle, he's a superstar. He attracts readers and sales based on the name alone now than he did a year ago. Right,
which is amazing. That's great. That's what you really want to see for your favorite comic artists. And I'm glad that Tom King could help him get there.
While the terms of his contract weren't made public, his previous one was 2 years.
He's got way longer than 2 years now. Please, of course. He's set for at least 5.
Yes, definitely.
Flipping over to the television side of DC, this is a very DC-filled week for us.
Yeah, some good and some bad.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is good.
Good. There was bad in there? Oh, the comic increase, whatever. We're still getting good stories. So DC Entertainment has revealed the name of their online streaming service, DC Universe.
Straightforward.
I feel like this name has been used a lot, but that's okay.
What would you call it?
DC TV. I don't know. This is why I'm not in this. Just Batman shows.
The Batman streaming service.
Yes. BSS.
With this announcement, they also showcased the new title cards to the exclusive shows that are going to be on the service, including Titans, Harley Quinn, Young Justice Outsiders, and Swamp Thing.
Yes!
Out of fucking nowhere, goddamn Swamp Thing.
Left field. Hey guys, I'm Swamp Thing. And I was eating it up. Yum, 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 yum.
Oh my god, all of these shows I'm going to fucking watch.
Yes.
They all, like Harley Quinn, we know it's going to be an animated series. Titans is, actually both of the Harley Quinn and Young Justice are going to be animated. Titans and Swamp Thing, though, are going to be live action.
Yes. Well, we're still holding off on Titans, but I'll watch it. Listen, I know at one point we were conflicted about getting this DC Universe streaming service. I think we're pretty much sold now.
Yeah.
We're just going to have to, and it sucks for us spending more money on streaming services.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how much more they offer on here. Like, they're feeding us the original content first, but I think they're withholding the information as to whether or not the older cartoons are going to be on here.
I don't see any reason that they won't be, though.
Right, I agree. But I think they're waiting until they can actually launch it to say, this is going to be the price. It launches on this day, and all of these shows are going to be available.
The thing that they should do, and I know we've talked about this before, but definitely get Batman the Animated Series on there.
The whole Timverse.
Yes, get all of them. If they got the original Teen Titans on there, forget about
Yes.
it. Gone. Just fucking forget about it. You would sell it. And even shows like that, shows like Batman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, those are still shows that you could put on your streaming service and you're still going to make Blu-ray sales.
Absolutely.
Because you have those people who love those things so much that, yes, I like the convenience of watching it, just pulling it up on my stream, but I want to have a copy for myself so that I can look at it sitting in, my bookcase or TV stand, wherever.
Aside from the regular TV shows that we grew up on, the other things that are going to be selling the service to people our age and younger are going to be having the original DC animated movies on this service as well. I think that's going to be a big sell for a lot of people. The other thing you do also is, even though we're probably going to buy the Blu-ray versions of movies or TV shows that we do enjoy, even if they are on the service, but just like they do digital first by like 2 weeks or so when they release them, do a exclusively on the DC Universe streaming app 2 weeks ahead of release. And then that's another way that's more benefits to people that are on this particular contract and on this service. When they first had that page open and they had the logo DC Universe, it said sign up here for email updates. And I was like, okay, sure. But then I was like, why didn't we know about this ahead of time along with Newsarama and everyone? I'm like, how come we're still not on the press list? So I was like, you know what? Screw this. So I emailed, I forgot which representative it was at DC Entertainment, found their email. This is where the PR contact or the press release contact. And I was like, hey, here's a link to our podcast. We promote your brand like crazy.
All the time.
And not just, and we're not in any way
Unbiased.
we're not affiliated by DC. We're purely biased. So, so we're already selling this shit. Can you throw us on your press list for this? And they said, wrote back like within 24 hours, like, yeah, we'll throw you on there. I was like, yes, thank you.
Magic. So hopefully we will find out the price before anybody else.
And we'll have it right here for you.
Yes.
Sorry, Newsarama, you're going to have to get your news from here.
Because subscribe. They're not on the press list.
I need to write them about getting ahead of their press list. There's got to be a tiered service.
The super press list. We want to be part of the conference call where they decide this shit.
I got to talk to Jeff Johns.
Yeah. Give him a call.
Our monthly call that we do every month.
Right?
Every month we do it. And that's where and that's one thing that I forget. I think it was Brian it was Maceo who said, oh, was this a move by Jeff? Did you kind of, get some wiggle room there with him to get on this press list? I was like, yeah, it was kind of like did they forget to put you on there? Oh, yeah, I'll take care of it. I'm sorry about that.
I got it fixed, guys. Don't worry.
Let me just send out a text. Actually, it's more like the big, long-ass tables. There's that circular phone thing in there, and he just clicks the button. Like, hey, Jennifer, can you make sure that Daniel's on the press list? Can you just get him out? Thank you. And do you want a coffee from all the way over there? No? All right. Good. Just like in the movies.
You guys are on way different ends of the table? Is that what it is?
He has me on the big monitor.
Oh, okay. So
and then it's him sitting at the other end.
So if you said you did want a coffee, would somebody knock on your door?
They they fly it in via helicopter.
Oh, Jeff. Oh, Jeff Johns.
So we talked about the new shows that are releasing on the service. Swamp Thing is the big hitter here.
Yes. So Swamp Thing will be a 1 hour per episode series produced by Aquaman director James Wan.
The official description to Swamp Thing reads, quote, when CDC researcher Abby Arcane returns to her childhood home of Houma, Louisiana, in order to investigate a deadly swamp-borne virus, she develops a surprising bond with scientist Alec Holland, only to have him tragically taken away from her. There's your love story. You're hooked.
I'm hooked.
But as powerful forces descend on Houma, how do you pronounce that? It's definitely a Louisiana thing.
I mean, it's probably Houma.
Houma. Intent
Houma, Louisiana.
On exploiting the swamp's mysterious properties for their own purposes, Abby will discover that the swamp holds mystical secrets, both horrifying and wondrous, and the potential love of her life may not be dead after all. The end.
You know they're going to get busy in this show.
Probably. We're going to see Swamp on human love.
You know they're going to get busy before he becomes a Swamp Thing.
Maybe you know how you save on budget? You make it so that he can churn into like a regular actor.
Regular man. Speaking of budget, I'm going down a rabbit trail. I apologize. My parents were watching a show recently, and there was a plane crash in the show, and they're like, "No, we're going down, no," and then it cuts, and everybody's waking up in the broken plane. I'm like, they didn't have enough budget to show a plane crash.
No, you save money where you can.
Yeah, you got to.
How do you save money on Swamp Thing?
You make a swamp suit that you can just zip up the back.
So you don't think he'll be minimal CGI on this?
I really hope minimal CGI on this. I don't know. I don't know what they're giving them as this budget. I would hope that they've seen the success that Netflix has had with some of their original stuff and said, you know what, there's a lot of potential here. Let's give them a little bit of a bigger budget.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you don't know at this time. The first few episodes, you're probably going to see human Alec Holland, at least for the first 1 hour.
Right.
He's going to be human, and then he'll fall into the swamp, and then you go, no! And then the whole second episode is probably just she's mourning his loss, but then, like, little things are starting to happen, so then you still don't see Swamp Thing.
Her one plant that she couldn't revive
suddenly is flowering. So it's probably going to be at least the end of the second episode, maybe the third, before we see him. And then that way you can kind of test your audience and see how it's going and go from there.
If this show does get greenlit to be on this service...
greenlit.
It's going to be a full season order. They're actually bypassing the pilot season format that they normally do, where they test it out. And they said instead, I guess they're pitching it to the money, right? To whoever is in charge of making these decisions. And James Wan, as the producer, is going to be... pitching that for them, and then they'll move forward if this gets its own service, depending on how many. I'm sure the number of subscribers also has a lot to do on whether or not this does come forward. This would actually be the third Swamp Thing television series, following a live-action show on USA Network and the animated series on Fox Kids in the early 90s.
I didn't even know those were a thing, so...
I watched both as a kid, but not extensively, so it didn't catch me.
Hopefully this one will. They should go the path of Riverdale and make it, like, super spooky, and I'm all for it.
As for the DC Universe streaming service itself, it is going to debut late this year.
Cannot come soon enough. I am so ready for this thing. Turn it on for Leo every day. See you later, Magic School Bus. No more Miss Frizzle. No, I'm addicted now. I can't turn it off.
That does wrap it up for our news for the week. We've actually got some more kind of pseudo news with our Brocat block because we did take in some questions from the listeners. So we're going to address those as we head into it. First, I do have something to say about Infinity War reviews that I have been seeing online, that I've been seeing via podcasts, that I've been seeing via bloggers. And it always seems to be this trend of, let's talk about the MCU and review today Infinity War. So DC movies, am I right? They need to do better. I just want them to be successful, and I don't know why they're not doing well. And it's like, it's like people can't help themselves.
Right.
They have to bring down something else or something related when they're talking about the celebration of something else. And I pointed this out via tweet to another podcast, and it wasn't even a as he put it, bashing it. It was simply a criticism of it because it landed in the same, they fell for the same exact trap of, let's bash DC and let's talk bad about DC. It's like, what does that have to do with Infinity War? What does that have to do with the Marvel movies? Like, I even made the joke of, oh, did they cross over in Infinity War? I haven't seen it. I don't know. They could have. I still don't know. Like, Bobby told me he could have been making up a whole story. I have no idea. I'm never going to see Infinity War. I'll never know if Batman's actually in there. So,
spoiler, he's not.
Did you see it?
I did not see it. I will never see it.
So he could be. You'll never 100% know.
I won't. You're right. I have chosen to stop talking about the Marvel movies with people because I'm just tired of defending myself. Because anytime you say, I don't like Marvel movies, it becomes well, this is why you're wrong. And it's like, I'm not wrong because that's my preference. If we were talking about anything else in the world, you would not fight me on it. You would just say, oh, okay. Like, these movies don't have to be for me. I'm glad you enjoyed them, but they don't have to be for me.
It does, as you said, fall into, like, politics in many ways, where it splits camps, it divides friends and ruins friendships, which many have been. I've ended a few of those over these things. So It's becoming funny and weird and heavy in some ways, and I think it is that unique perspective of like listeners know that we're constantly like having to defend, and it's like, okay, well, here we go, someone else is gonna come after, you know, the DC fans and the DC movies, and it's like, all right, well, you don't understand why these movies are still successful. They're making money. No, but they sucked. It's like, again, that's not how the industry works. They're making money. They're
right.
still cranking these out. Otherwise, they wouldn't have any more movie. They wouldn't have just announced the Margot Robbie just talked that the Harley Quinn solo movie is kind of like Crime Girls as an R-rated movie, like a gang of girls out there. And she did hint that it's going to be R-rated. So it's like, oh, you know what, though? They're not successful, though. They fucking canceled her shit. It drives me nuts because people are objectively wrong about the way they describe these movies. Mm. And my personality, I can't like say, well, you're wrong. I've always been like, well, don't let ignorance, fly. Like, shoot it down when you can, point it out, or at least make it known to them. So that's one thing that I noticed. Like, okay, every podcast that has been on my list, and I do listen to several, they started reviewing Infinity War. It's like, okay, where's the DC bash? Ah, there it is, right there. Mm-hmm. Every time, without fail. So that's my little soapbox, I guess, in the Brocat block. Free comic book day. Did you get to see some pictures?
I probably did. No, you know what? I didn't, because going back to our previous topic about all the Marvel things and me defending myself, I took a step back from social media this last week. So last 2 weeks.
I think it was the last 2 weeks.
I think it is, because I feel like I talked about it on the last podcast. Mm-hmm. So I deleted my Facebook app. I check it once, maybe twice a day. And I'm just kind of trying to step away from all the negativity and all the things that I don't want to see, particularly all the Infinity War things.
No, that makes sense. And you said you check Facebook like on the browser, I'm guessing, then, mm-hmm. if you deleted the app?
Right, because the app is too convenient for me to just pull it up. The browser doesn't work as well, so I get frustrated and I close it out. Or sometimes I'll log out and then I don't want to log back in because you got to put your email address and da-da-da. So, yes, the app is gone. And it's really opened up more time for me to do other things, because now, even though I've stepped away from my phone since we've had Leo, more often than I would be on it all the time, now I'm doing that even more, because it's not convenient to say, oh, what's the world doing right now? I don't need to know that. I don't need to see all the negativity on there, and this is what's going on in the world, and all the people dying, and I don't need that in my life. There's too much in my life right now to bog myself down with that as well.
I see what you're saying, where most of the stories that do get clicks are negative stories, and that's where people get this misconception of the world is in a shitty place right now. It's rough, and it's like, no, for the last about 8 years, a little over that, the crime rate worldwide has been extremely low, and it's like, no, we're actually doing fine as a worldwide, whatever you want to call this, this sharing of this earth. Like, you can talk about the pollution and the resources, but as far as crime that affects all of us, it's actually gone down. So, but because that doesn't get the attention, that's not a news story that's going to get clicks. Instead, it's going to be like, oh, another shooting down in this town. Where can we find what happened?
The ones that get me now are like, this baby got hurt, or this mom had this instance where her baby was suffocating, and I'm just like, oh my God, the babies! Ugh, I can't. It hits me so much harder. I mean, obviously.
So you didn't see Free Comic Book Day stuff?
I did not see Free Comic Book Day, thanks.
Well, let me tell you, as someone who worked it, I love it. I always adore Free Comic Book Day. That's something that comes up every single year where people will ask me, you must hate Free Comic Book Day. And I'm like, no, not at all. I fucking love it. I love Free Comic Book Day. Yes, it's exhausting at the end, by the very end. Yes, you are working open to close for many hours. Yes, your mind is fried by the weekend, because I do continue working that Sunday and continue on. So, but it's so much fun. It's great to see so many people share in the love of this hobby, along with all of us, along with all of the workers, along with all of the regulars. So I love seeing like the subscribers come in, pick up their books or pick up some free comics, or some of them will even pick up merch as well alongside with their pulls. So it's just like they're also wanting to support the shop along with the rest of the people in the town, in the city, people that are discovering your shop for the first time, the families and friends that are being brought out like, oh, this is my first comic book. I've never been into a comic book shop. So all of that culminates into like, there's really no negative aspect really in Free Comic Book Day. The only time it's been something bad is when we catch someone stealing something. Then it's like that kind of puts you in a mood for a little bit, but it's still like you're just smiles and laughing and talking to everyone, and that's when a lot of like all of the people come out of the woodwork like, hey, do you want to promote this thing at your shop? Like you become the thing, right? Like you become the spot to be. So I love Free Comic Book Day. It's one of my definitely my favorite time of the year.
That's great that you can love what you do, even on the busy days. I have many days like that at work, except my job is not laughing. It's throwing burgers out of a window.
You're like, how many people did you have through the door? That's cute. That's our morning.
I'm not going to say, but sometimes when you send me your sales for the day, I'm like, add like 4 more zeros on there.
And I was like, it was great. And you're like, yeah.
Yeah, blah, blah.
Your store is very profitable.
Multiply that by 10.
You can say that about every company, not your company.
This is accurate.
She works for a huge, huge company.
I do. And I enjoy what I do. I really do. But I'm glad that you enjoyed your New Year's Eve of comic book shops.
It's bigger than Black Friday. A lot of people are like, which one's bigger? I'm like, Free Comic Book Day. Every single year.
Because you give away things for free.
You give away things for free, and people buy things with their free books. It's the best.
And it helped that the grocery store next to you was doing something big, too. So there we go. Bring more people in.
There you go. We did ask for some questions from Twitter users, from the Brocat core out there, because it was kind of a lighter news week, even though it was heavy on DC, which is the stuff we always like to talk about. But we did have 2 Brocat members submit some questions for today's episode.
The first one comes from Twitter user @BrianShaup1, who asked, how does Joey screw so many things up and keep getting more jobs like he did something good? You're going to have to answer this one because I don't know.
I'll give him the real, honest answer, and why he does is because he can always wave the Avengers flag around. Like, look, I made Avengers. Look at that money. And every studio is going to be like, well, I see those dollars. Okay. They could even wave Justice League because that was still profitable. Like, look, I did Justice League and I did Avengers, and this is hot shit right now. Superheroes and whatnot. So do you want me on your project? That's the real answer. That's how he keeps getting stuff, because they don't look at it by the shitty things he's done, by the quality of his work.
Well, and they don't look at anything like that either.
Exactly.
It's what made money.
Exactly
so,
right.
So, again, George Lucas keeps getting shit, even though his George Lucas cut of Star Wars was terrible.
Initially it was, yeah.
And that's what I've heard. I haven't seen it myself.
Oh, you mean the current one?
I don't know, whichever one he did.
The one he sold to Disney?
I don't know. I heard that he did a cut of his own movie and it was crap.
In the original, when he first did them, he kept the toy sales. And if he hadn't, that would have been like a huge fucking mistake, because the toys did crazy good.
Right.
But with the recent Disney one, they have obviously made their money back on this with their merch and movies and everything. So you could view it that way. And it's like, oh, that was a terrible deal, George. It's like, but he's got stock in the company now.
Right.
He's got those billions of dollars that they paid him for it. He's fine. He's going to be all right for his remaining days.
Right. But the moral of my story is he continues to get work even though he doesn't necessarily do a great job.
I don't think he's working on anything.
Okay,
Lucas,
whatever.
I think it's always been Star Wars.
Well, okay, then my point is mute. I'm sorry. I was trying to come up with something nice.
The important thing, Brian, is that he is not getting things with Warner
DC.
Brothers, like with DC Entertainment. So as far as I'm concerned, he is not working. Because I'm never going to see whatever he makes.
See his crap.
And we had a series of questions from Twitter user @CubanSlim. Bobby's been on the show before. He helped fill in when you were away on your pregnancy recovery.
When I was on maternity leave? I was like in the other room on maternity leave.
To the listeners, you were gone.
Okay.
Like, they don't know. Like, Kelly's gone on maternity leave.
Yeah, it was great.
So he had several questions here, and we're going to break them down and answer them and expand on each one. So I'll read off all the questions first. And it is actually might be easier to just go down. One at a time. All right. So his first question was, talk about the Disney Fox deal and how Comcast is about to snipe it right out of the air. Do you know what they're trying to do?
No. Maybe we talked about it briefly.
They gave a bigger stock deal initially over Disney to Fox for the characters, X-Men, and all the rest of the movie franchises as well. And they ended up taking the Disney deal or agreeing to it because they felt that that's the company they kind of wanted to work with, or that's the company that would have been better for their properties. At the end of the day, their stock was worth more than what probably Comcast's was.
Right.
So the initial stock deal was about, I believe, $63 billion in stock, which is still great. And Disney's was $58 billion, I believe, in stock. And now
What's
Comcast,
a couple billion?
Well, Comcast, what they did now is they pulled all the resources together, and they're doing a straight cash deal of $60 billion.
Wow.
Not stock, just straight cash deal for $60 billion. And that's like their this is it. Like, they are the eBayer that waits till the last 10 minutes and it's like, here's my bid.
All my money.
So now Fox is like, like, I don't know if this was planned at all, but It's like, Jesus Christ, like, this is what we said they should have done. It's like, I don't know, Disney's offering me this. It's like, well, we could use some cash. So it's like, the cash deal, $60 billion. If they accept that, and a lot of people are like, no, they already did the Disney. No, they didn't.
They still have years for it to go through.
They can still go, actually, let's not do this, and let's do this. And that would make me happy as a movie goer, because it's like, okay, I trust Comcast way more with the Marvel characters than I do Disney and the MCU. So I'm obviously rooting for this eBayer sniper guy. Comcast lover 23181.
The only thing I could say to that is, so they're getting Disney stocks, right?
Sure.
Potentially, where's Disney going to be in 10 years with those stocks that they have?
How much higher can Disney stock go, though? That's the thing. Like, it's kind of like when you buy stock in Coca-Cola or Microsoft. It's like, today, yeah, it's worth about $1.50. Like, but if you had bought it many years, or I'm sorry, it won't gain you that much money, because it's not like they're gonna reinvent the wheel and suddenly your stock's gonna double. It's just maintaining that value, and that's pretty much it. That's their job, is to maintain their stock levels.
But Star Wars land.
I don't know.
And Toy Story land.
I don't see it.
The lines for Pandora are still 4 hours long.
It's not a proven thing to Fox or even to Comcast, in which they're doing the
Not
the
that
cash
I want
deal.
Disney to get them. I'm just saying. Playing devil's advocate.
Like, if you're thinking about it, the cash is cash, right? $60 billion is going to be $60 billion. 58 billion in stock could be 32 billion in stock. It could be maybe 65 billion in stock. So that's kind of the risk that you have to take.
Right.
Cash, though, that right there is very, very, like.
Do you think that there's someone listening on the podcast and they're like, you're right, cash.
I hope they fucking are.
That's what we need to do, guys.
I'm not an analyst. Listen to me, though. Because I want these other movies to be better than the others. I'm just as bad as these fucking
First
MCU
world
fanboys. So you don't care either way where this goes? I mean, you know you want X-Men and the Fantastic Four elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't want it to go to Disney, but I'm just saying, devil's advocate. Are we going to get better movies if it goes to Comcast? Absolutely. Do I want better movies? Of course. Am I seeing any movies right now in my life? No. So right now, whatever.
Don't worry, you've got many years still until this deal goes through.
Thanks. You're saying I'm going to grow old and live a happy life?
I'm talking about the deal.
Oh,
Kelly.
okay. I'm sorry.
Bobby wants to know, Batman Ninja. It's the latest animated movie that released. We had talked about the trailer.
Oh, where he's like samurai Batman.
Exactly. And it looks like it's going to be all subtitled with the Japanese voiceover. Our thoughts on it? We haven't seen it. I'm excited to see it, though.
I'm excited to see it. It looked really cool. Is Vegeta in there?
No, he's not. I know it's out physically already. I saw people with like their steelbook cases of it. It's like, oh man, that looks really, really good. But yeah, it just kind of flew under my radar where I'm like, oh shit, that's out already? It was not something that I was actively keeping an eye out.
Right.
But it'll probably be one that we end up renting on what are we using? Vudu. And then if we end up liking it, we'll purchase the Blu-ray.
The next thing he asked about is the new # Superman Loves Batman Q-Fig Max.
That is the official title of this Q-Fig. You've seen it. It's
Yes.
Superman looking as lovingly as ever as he's carrying his man. You're the expert of Superman Loves Batman, because you came up with the concept and the idea as we were watching Justice League. Why does Batman look so upset at being carried through the clouds, even though Superman's as happy as can be?
Because Batman never wants to be carried anywhere. And the only time that Batman gets carried is when there's no other options. And Batman doesn't like there to be no other options.
That's true.
So, of course, he's grumpy. And Superman's all like, finally. Because Superman probably blew up the other options, so he'd have to carry Batman.
It's like Diana's like, I can catch him. And Superman's like, no, I'm faster than a speeding bullet. I can get there quicker.
Yeah, it's fine.
Wonder Woman's like, but I'm right here.
You can go carry these other things.
He laser visions like, oh no, there's a fire over there. Wonder Woman, can you get that? I'll get Batman. You're just better with I just gotta get Batman.
But Superman, you have ice breath.
It doesn't work right now. It's the sun with the I don't
feel a little parched.
But I can still fly really well. So Batman. Oh, he smells him.
It's a great figure.
We have that pre-ordered, by the way. Like it got solicited about 2 months ago, and I was like, "Oh fuck yes!" And I put myself down for it. Can't wait to get it. He just looks so upset and angry, and it is the definitive first piece
Batman.
Of Superman Loves Batman merchandise. Good eye, Bobby. Very good eye. He also wanted to know about the Deadpool 2 advertising campaign and how it's broader than the first one. And what our expectations are for this one versus the first entry.
What's the marketing campaign?
So what I've noticed is, one is they continue the campaign that they did in Deadpool 1, where they, for example, the latest trailer had Cable introduced, played by Josh Brolin, who also played Thanos in Infinity War. Mm-hmm. So he comes out and he's got a big metallic arm, just like in the comics. But in the trailer, he still has the green screen like slip on it. That they will later CGI.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Exactly. And he comes out like, oh, what's going on? The CGI isn't done yet. It's not like we're trying to Photoshop out a mustache like they do that. So they
right.
What's funny is they take a jab at both DC and Marvel, but people didn't notice the Marvel one.
Of course not.
In which he plays the Toy Story thing, right? But then it's Josh Brolin as Cable, right? And that's also, again, Thanos. So he's like, oh, I'm going to get you, Sheriff Deadpool. And then Deadpool, like, jumps on his head with his balls in his face. And he's like, here's the stones you're looking for. And it's like, oh, it's the Infinity Stones. But nobody caught that, I guess. I don't know. And Deadpool's like, don't bite down. So that's what the marketing campaign, I think it's been great for their fans. Right. I think it's exactly the kind of humor that they're into.
That they're looking for,
And it's the kind of humor that was in the first movie. And the first one wasn't for me. It just didn't catch me. I'm not a Deadpool guy. So I won't be seeing the second one, but I know I do appreciate that this movie wouldn't have existed if it was under the MCU. It's another one of those examples of Logan and Deadpool under Fox. You're never going to see Deadpool in an Avengers movie. Disney's not going to mix up that branding between their PG-13 properties and their R-rated properties. Right. This is exactly why we haven't seen the Defenders in the main movies either, because that's really, hardcore shit with Jennifer Jones, having sex with Luke Cage and, this other person and then Purple Man making people essentially raping. Ooh. It's like, yeah, you don't want that in the Disney branded PG-13 toy sellers. Definitely don't want that.
No. I will say my favorite Deadpool piece of marketing comes from the Teen Titans Go movie trailer, where they bust in and see Slade Wilson.
We never talked about that.
No, we didn't, because we had the special episode last week and we've seen it since then.
That's right.
So they bust in and they're like, Deadpool? And he's like, what? No, I was around before him. If anything,
he's like way before him.
Yeah, if anything, they should think he's me. Nah, you're Deadpool.
I love that Slade is the villain in Teen Titans Go. Like he's appeared in the background as like drawings or pictures, but he's never actually been, from what I know, an active member of an episode of Teen Titans Go. Right. We've seen several of them, but obviously you save someone like that for the theatrical release of the movie. Even the posters have been like riffs or remakes of the DC Universe movies, and then you see like Batfleck, and then like literally Robin in his shadow.
If you guys haven't seen that trailer and you like Teen Titans Go, you like Teen Titans, I definitely watched the trailer. It was a lot of fun. I love the comments on the trailer though. They should have just brought back the original Teen Titans.
They are there, though. They're the same voice actors.
No, they're not the same. You just want teen angst, because that's what the original
Do you listen to Green Day as well? You're getting your original Teen Titans.
Right.
Fucking relax. Jesus
it looks
Christ.
So funny.
And it's going to make less... The original Teen Titans, when that does come back, because you know the show is coming back, is going to still make less money than Teen Titans Go and further prove our fucking point of... That doesn't matter that you don't like it. A shit ton of kids are buying the merch, and they're going to be flooding the theater to watch this movie, including us. One thing that I did point out to Katie, who's a huge Deathstroke fan, I said, that's not Ron Perlman, right? As Slade in Teen Titans Go. And she's like, no, it's not. And it doesn't follow the pattern of them maintaining the voice actors. But she said that maybe when they bring back the show, that maybe then they'll bring back Ron Perlman for Slade Wilson in the one based on the continuation of the original show.
That'd be awesome. I like Ron Perlman. He was Hellboy, right?
Yeah, and we just saw the first and the second one finally. That's something else we did in these 2 weeks. What'd you think of Hellboy?
I really enjoyed the first one.
Yep.
Not so much the second one.
I agree. I was like, I guess I was just talking romantically about it because of all the amazing special effects. You can tell he got a budget boost with the sequel.
One. And then fucking blew it all on
fucking costumes.
Yes.
And I'm like, these costumes are great, but this, I'm sure, did not make as much money.
Nope.
And sure enough, that's why Hellboy 3 does not exist. And that other reason, too, is Guillermo is not taking a lesser budget. They said, no, we'll give you half of what you're asking for. And Guillermo's like, then I'm not doing it. And so they're like, okay, there's no movie. Bye. We're going to reboot it.
I love Dougie Jones in it, though. Abe Sapien. Oh, he was so good.
Also, the Angel of Death in the second one. Just fucking amazing.
We need to watch Pan's Labyrinth again soon.
How's he not won any kind of Academy Award recognition for any of his work?
I don't know. He should win all the Academy Awards.
I think...
He should come to the Academy Awards dressed as an Academy Award.
He would nail it.
Yes, he would.
I think what we liked best about the first Hellboy is that it was just them shitting on this crappy-ass agent that I hated in the first one. What was his fucking name?
I don't know.
Fuck that guy. who was trying to come in between Hellboy and Liz in the first one. It's like, man, this motherfucker. Like, even his character's shitty. Like, you don't like him. Like, it's like Hellboy's not an amazing character either. He's kind of sarcastic and, as far as I know, different than what the comics did for the most part. But it's like, you're still rooting for Hellboy. You're like, fuck that fucking guy. And I'm glad he's kissing Liz in front of his fucking face. Like, fuck you, man. And then in the sequel, they're like, you sent him off to Antarctica. Yeah, he likes cold weather. I'm like, yes, fuck him. He's not in this movie at all. That piece of shit. He's the Deckard of the Hellboy universe.
You hate Deckards. You hate Deckards everywhere.
I do. Any one of those characters that tries to get in the way, and they're always lame asses that try to get in the way between the romance of like the main character and someone else. I'm like, fuck off. Like, they're never ever appealing characters. They try to make them sometimes, like fucking Deckard and being Puppy Cat, but otherwise in this case, even you didn't like him.
No, I didn't like him. The Deckard in Lucifer, who gets in the way of her and Lucifer, he's pretty interesting.
You like that guy? Fuck that guy too.
No, not Dan. You're thinking of Dan. You haven't been watching this new guy.
Oh, the Smallville guy?
Yeah.
Okay, Superman.
He was pretty cool. He played Cain from Cain and Abel. Okay. And he was pretty cool. And I just watched part 1 of 2 for the season finale and just cried a lot.
So how come you as someone that's been invested in the Lucifer relationship for seasons now, how do you say that the guy that's threatening this is kind of cool? Like, how's that even possible?
He is kind of cool, but like, he became real shitty this last episode.
How do you not dislike him from the beginning? Like, who the fuck is this?
Well, I did in the beginning, like the first time they showed him, I'm like, he's fucking evil. And then like they make him real nice for like 5 episodes. I'm like, fucking evil.
Where did the churn happen where you're like, he's okay though?
I mean, they still made him kind of cool, like when he started being a nice guy, because before his only intention was to get the detective Chloe to fall in love with him so that his mark would go away so that he could finally die. Because what happened was he killed his brother Abel, right? Like from the story. So God marked him and he's like, you're gonna fucking live forever, then you're never gonna die. And so he's lived all these centuries trying to kill himself, and he can't form relationships because they all die, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he finally decides, like, okay, I'm gonna make her fall in love with me and my mark will go away. So his mark finally fucking goes away because she fell in love with him. And then he's like, oh, I can't hurt her heart. Like, I can't break her heart now. So I'm just going to be really nice and actually love her too, because now I can live out a full life with somebody that I've always wanted. I don't just want to die. But now he fucking wants to die again. So I'm like, well, fuck you.
Okay.
And Lucifer and Chloe are finally I always know they're gonna end up together. So if anybody tries to come between them, I know they're gonna end up together. They've hinted at it since day one of this TV show, so yes.
Final bits of the Brocat block. So some of the more personal stuff. Listener Kyle Lynch, he ended up stepping on a nail as he let us know on Twitter. And I was like, shit, man, that's fucking terrible. That's never happened to me. Literally a few days later, I am mowing the lawn, and we recently had some work done on our house, and I stepped on what I was like, oh shit, man, I've got this wood chip stuck in my shoe. And I'm walking, I was like, this goddamn wood chip, and I'm trying to move it around because you know how you can move it around. It's like, I'll just get into a less comfortable spot on my shoe until I finish mowing. And it wouldn't move, and I was like, son of a bitch. So I took off my shoe, and I'm like banging it against the floor, right? Doing that, and it's not coming out, stepping back in it, and I'm like, god damn, this fucking wood chip. Doing it again. I was like, oh, it's underneath my Dr. Scholl's slip. So I peel that back, and I'm like doing the same exact thing. And I put the Scholl's back in, and I step again, and I was like, what the fuck? And I just happened to look on the other side, and there's this circular metal piece, and I pull it out, and it's got this nail on the other end. It's like a giant tack, a ginormous tack. Then they use it on roofs. I was like, oh fuck! I just stepped on a nail, just like Kyle. And Dr. Scholl saved my life. The good doctor. I'm a fan for life. Fan for life.
When Dr. Scholl became a doctor, I don't think he was planning on saving lives, but
saved mine.
That's good.
He saved mine.
That's good. I'm glad.
That I still don't know how it didn't go through the Dr. Scholl's slip. I looked inside, it just had it was clearly something was under there, but
right.
I was like, oh fuck, a goddamn nail.
Well, it probably wasn't long enough to go all the way through.
You saw it, but it just. Maybe that was it, or maybe it's the fact that we're in Florida and it's sand, so it's not like I really if it was concrete and I'd stepped on it, I think it would have gone through because the weight of my foot, and even with the Dr. Scholl's, I think it would have pierced it. But I think because I was mowing the lawn and I'm mowing on sand essentially, that there's a little bit of give on the other side of that. So thank you, Florida, and thank you, Dr. Scholl's. I looked very carefully through the lawn, though, because I'm like, how many more of these fucking tags? You found one in the driveway.
I did. I found one in the driveway right after the work was done. Typically, they go through with a giant magnet to pick up any of those things, but I checked just to check, and hopefully that's it. Hopefully there are no more, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I guess so. I'll fucking find out if it goes through my goddamn shoes.
They would have, fallen in the bushes or something at this point.
I am gonna buy, though, nice boots, as you recommended.
Yes.
That hopefully won't have, I've already had branch thorns go through my shoes, and Dr. Scholl's again says...
The thing by the mailbox is a bougainvillea. Those things are, deadly.
Yeah, but I should probably get better shoes.
Yeah,
At the end of the day.
You wear your old, worn-out shoes for your yard work. You should probably just get yard shoes.
You want to talk about Leo update for this week, who is not joining us today, but... he went to Epcot for the first time. He went to Disney for the first time.
Yes, we did. So last weekend we had that special Riggs episode, which because of, childcare and all the other things that we wouldn't be able to work in the show within that. So yes, we ended up going to Epcot because we had the opportunity to go to. I got the hell burned out of me with my sunburn, which was pretty bad, but you and Leo got a nice tan, walked around. He loved it. Of course, there's so much to see for a little guy. So that was great for me because Epcot's one of our favorite parks. I can't even count how many times we've been to Epcot, but I now got to see it through someone seeing it for the very first time. And so that was really cool for me, just seeing how amazing everything was to him.
He got to go through the butterfly garden.
Yes.
And he was really enjoying that. He got to see bumblebees for the first time. Yes. So those fucking things were there.
He rode the Nemo ride.
Yep.
And then we rode the Three Caballeros before that's gone.
Fucking kid, that better not fucking... I know people are telling me, Bobby's telling me that it's going somewhere. You're telling me it's going away. But fuck Coco. Fuck Coco. I'm never seeing that movie again. Saw it once, we'll never see it again. I don't dislike it. I'm just like, no, the Three Caballeros is way better than fucking Coco. But even while we were there were people in the customers, guests asking for more Coco merchandise. They just had this one display, which I'm like, that's more than enough. You got the fucking ugly ass dog there. Jesus, what else do you want? But then they're like, is this it? And I'm like, Jesus, people are asking for more Coco shit. So it's like, yep, I guess, give people what they want. Just replace rides with what's currently hot and what movies came out within a year. God damn.
Because they didn't replace the old Mexico ride with the Caballeros.
With a classic movie that wasn't just out within a year, Kelly. That was a classic movie. That was the movie that repaired relationships between the U.S. and Mexico during World War II. That's the whole reason that movie exists. It is historical. That counts way more than Coco and Mama Coco. And I'm saying that as a Mexican. So I have my legit cred goes towards the Three Caballeros over Coco. Even though the Three Caballeros has a Brazilian, has the amazing Mexican rooster, and then has Donald Duck being pervy and trying to go after the Hispanic women on the beach. And then his two friends go, no, you like men, don't forget. And it's like, leave him alone. Let Donald Duck sexually harass those women that are enticing him. They are enticing him. If you remember the movie, they're just like, hey, ooh, they're shaking themselves in front of him.
Weren't there women in thongs running around on the beach too?
No, it wasn't that. I would have remembered that even as a kid. Those are thongs. What is that? They're in bikinis, yes, but They're not in thongs. And even in the ride itself, you see the Mexican women, the dancers, blowing him kisses and waving him over. And then when he jumps over and his friends hold him back, they're like, ooh, they jump back too. It's like everyone is asking for it. And the two, Panchito and Jose are saying, no, you don't. It's like, just let him. Jesus. He's on vacation.
So Leo had fun at Epcot.
And he got to see all of this because we went on that same ride.
Yes. So I enjoyed that. Did you enjoy taking your son to Epcot?
It was good. I always love Epcot. Yes. I have a lot of fun.
The other thing, again, on a personal note, he started crawling this week.
4 days ago now.
Mm-hmm.
He crawled for the very first time.
Yes. And he's just getting better and better. And I have already put plugs in all the sockets.
As my parents said, he had done it before at your parents', and at my parents', though, he did it for the first time at Abuelo y Abuela's, right? Mm-hmm. And my mom was saying, he has all his toys around him, all the different squishy balls and all the different the rattles and everything, and then so he's got all those to crawl to, and he starts crawling, and we're like, oh my God, he's crawling, and what does he crawl towards? The dog bowl.
Of course. Why wouldn't you crawl towards the dog bowl?
And it's like a silver dish, so it's shiny and all that. It's like, yeah, they're attracted to jewelry as well, and they grab at that, but it's like, they're like, okay, so they started moving the dog bowl around and making him crawl towards it, and they got it all in video, just him crawling towards the dog bowl. And now he crawls, through the bed. He crawls on the floor on his little play mat, so that's something he started doing. And with his crawling, he can now eat baby cereal, the little chunks of it.
The little puffs, yes. He tried those and he loves them. He's kind of confused about them.
Yeah,
but
he made a face.
He still eats them. Well, because it's very dry. He's not used to anything that dry. My favorite thing to do with him crawling, though, and I'm going to get it on video one of these days, is if we're playing in his room and I have to go get something, I get up and I walk out of the room, and that pisses him off. So he starts crying. And I can hear him crying, I listen for him, and I'll do something. I'll be gone for a minute, and I'll come back in, and he's, crawling towards the door. He's gonna fucking leave his room and come find me, because that's where I went. And then he sees me, and he sits back down, and he's fine.
He's like, I wasn't crawling.
But he does. He's getting better at it every day. So, now we're really gonna have to watch him. Not that we didn't watch him before.
You're absolutely right. All I get is threats. Whenever I tell some of the regulars, oh, he started crawling for the first time. Oh, watch out now. Ooh, you've done it.
Yeah.
It's damn it, why is it always threats?
I've researched all the baby proofing and all this stuff. You have to tie your TVs to the walls and all this crazy stuff because kids pull up. We have a brick fireplace. I don't know how the hell we're going to baby proof that.
Yeah,
but
that's tough.
We got to figure out a way, and it's going to be fun.
Yep.
Glad there's 5 Thursdays this month. Get that extra paycheck to buy
seriously.
baby proofing things.
So that is our Brocat block for this week. Let's head into thanking the people that make the show possible, our Patreon shout-outs for the week.
The first one goes out to Alexander, whose Twitter handle is @SwordfishShow. You can also find him at purpleswordfish.com.
He recently tweeted out, and there's a trend here, tweeted out to avoid getting Spectrum if possible. I absolutely agree. Spectrum is awful. What was their old name before that?
Bright House.
Oh my God, fucking Bright House. That's always fucking Bright House was their name. And now it's Spectrum, soon to be called fucking Spectrum. He lost internet, called out of principle to get 14 cents credited back because he knew it would cost them more to employ the person to stay on the phone with him. And it makes sense. Like, fuck these fucking guys. Like, when you're that upset about something, you will find some way to get some money back, and two, cost them something, some kind of inconvenience, I guess.
Good for him.
Spectrum does suck though. Like, and I think it's going to get worse as I don't know, net neutrality could be a bad or a good thing. I'm not educated enough in this, but these issues could be worse.
And next up, we have Lourdes and Katie. They subscribe to Justice League No Justice because of Deathstroke.
AKA Team Batman.
Team Batman. They're all Team Batman, please. It doesn't even matter if they're on his team or not.
They really are. And we're going to review it next week, most likely, Justice League No Justice. But let me just say that Deathstroke is like, you know what? I'm stuck here. Like, I'm kind of forced to work with everyone, but I don't mind it that much. Like, it is for the world. Next
on the list, we have Bobby, whose Twitter handle is @CubanSlim.
And here's where that trend continues. Bobby backed up Purple Swordfish and called out Ellen DeGeneres on Twitter as well, since she is the spokesperson on Spectrum. His apparently goes out at midnight constantly for quote-unquote maintenance, according to Spectrum. I mean, that's got to blow.
Every night at midnight?
I don't know if it's every night, but it's at midnight whenever it does go down for maintenance. And it's like, that's got to be exhausting if you're going to try. It's like, are they going to auto-credit you for that time that you don't get internet? Like, it's a pain in the fucking ass. You know?
I never see midnight anymore, but I would want credit. We never got credit for the fucking hurricanes when we lost power for a week and then internet for like 3 days after that.
We had to call, though, didn't we? Or I don't remember how. See,
I never did anything. They should have just automatically done it.
But they won't.
They won't. Next is Neil, whose Twitter handle is @inmats68.
He tweeted out for everyone to avoid renting a vehicle from Next Car Rentals. So it continues again. He got charged for tolls in spite of his e-pass box being closed.
Damn.
That we were able to avoid when we went up to New Jersey for your Comic Book Men episode. Mm-hmm. But apparently they told him, like, yeah, you won't get charged, just close it. And it's still read it. Plus he paid cash. So he got double charged for going through tolls. It's more like just shit. Just more shit. Our Brocat members deserve better.
They deserve
Spectrum
the best.
And these shitty ass car rental places, they deserve, the Brocats deserve better. So watch out, because if one day your company is owned by something Time Warner, I can just call my buddy Jeff and
you better. Ooh. And finally, we have John, whose Twitter handle is John72Tex.
He actually sent us a signed copy of Adventure Time Comics number 21, signed by the cover artists, and the novel, The Transformation of Lawrence Croft, as written by his friend Mark Finn.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, John. And I remember it came in, and one of my friends saw it, and he's like, why they send you this? I'm like, because they're great lists. They're awesome. They know we like Adventure Time. And I believe the artist is a regular, if not a subscriber at his particular comic shop. So he's like, hey, I know you do the, some cover work and possibly some interior work. So can you sign this real quick? Personalized it and everything, sent it our way.
Aww.
Thank you so much, John. Every other podcast, as we've said before, your listeners are nice. We have the best.
We have the best. So thank you once again to all of our Patreon supporters, to everyone who listens to our show. If you too would like to be a Patreon backer for as little as $1 a month, that is 25 cents an episode, you too will get not only your shout out, but you will get the episode early.
We also want to give a huge thanks to decalavenue.com for the help at the $5 reward tier. If you ever want to leave us a voicemail question or even some feedback, let's say you don't want to shoot us a tweet, you want to be heard on the show, use the SpeakPipe link found in the description of today's episode. Click on there, record right from your phone, shoot us a question, and we will feature it right here on the show. You can also represent us with t-shirts. There were Julian from Lazy Gaming Guys, and also Kyle, who unfortunately, he's recovering from the nail incident. They both wore the Reasons I'm Broke t-shirts to their Infinity War screenings. And Julian started the trend by saying, this is the closest that @Reasons I'm Broke will ever be to Infinity War.
Very accurate. I approve.
Very, very nice. So you can get a t-shirt at thereasonsimbroke.com. Click on merch and choose the design that you like. As soon as you do, you can change the color of your shirt.
Mhm.
So that shirt that we have as a default, it is only my recommendation, but you can change the colors from that same website as soon as you click on the t-shirt that you'd like.
There are also many other styles that you can get. I just got my racer back in the other day, my nice woman's t-shirt. We also got a onesie. I'm so excited.
It looks great.
It's wonderful.
We're probably going to wear it to MegaCon,
Yeah.
right? It's going to be fun.
Well, if I lose enough weight, then yes. For those of you who follow my Twitter, you have seen my summer body update.
Also, so with that, let's head into our 2 comic book highlights for the week.
Our first comic book highlight is DC Variant covers the complete visual history.
Yeah, so this was actually sent over by a worker at Inside Editions that is also a listener of the show. And he's like, hey, I know you guys are massive DC fans. So I went ahead and want to send you a copy of the DC Visual History of Variants for DC Comics. And he's like, yeah, can I do that? I was like, yeah, definitely. Like, if it's a digital copy, like, just email it to us. If it's a physical, you can send it here. And he ended up sending us the digital kind of press release and some preview pages. I'm like, oh, this is great. Thank you so much. But then after that, we ended up getting the giant visual history of DC Variants that ended up coming in. And listener is Eric C. Thank you so much for sending us DC Comics Variants covers the complete visual history. We bust that open, and sure enough, not only is it, to anyone that thinks it's just a massive art book, it is not. It's actually it is a history of variant covers in DC Comics. It gives you the very first variant, which is from Man of Steel, and then from there it continues and it goes through the various themes that they've gone through with DC Comics and the New 52 in the recent Rebirth series. If there was ever a variant that you're like, man, I never collected that, it's probably in the book. And it probably has a little mini excerpt and a little mini summary of the story, like from the artist or from the author saying, well, this is what they were trying to emulate. This is the kind of story that they were making. This is the kind of cover that they ended up working on. And it's so comprehensive. The reason it's so large, too, is the artwork pops. The artwork is bigger than even the comic itself, and it's featured, right? It really highlights the pieces that have come out throughout the years.
This was so amazing to flip through because there were variants that I didn't even know existed by some of my favorite artists. And so it's like, wow, I didn't know that they did this, and now I have it right here. If you buy a book that's a variant cover, which is always fun to collect those as well, but then you put them in bag and boards and you file them away and you don't necessarily take the time to pull them out and look at them again. Like you said, it's a full history of it. I can flip through the pages and say, yes, here's my favorite one. Let's look at these different things. Oh, remember when this run came out? These were all the different variants. And you can see them all side by side and remember those feelings of picking them up or discover new ones as well.
Yeah, and the full history is written by Dan Wallace. The cover of this hardcover is done by Frank Cho, but of course it has a variant edition of this done by Neil Adams.
Yep, of course.
It is also the first ever published collection of DC variant covers, so there you go. It's got, as we said, it does have everything. Last time I checked on Diamond, they're low in stock. So if it is something that you're like, oh, that sounds like it's right up my alley, head over to your local comic book shop. They should still, as of right now, as of this recording, still be able to get that in for you.
And next, our comic book highlight this week, as we said in the very beginning, is The Nightmare Before Christmas, Zero's Journey #1. This is written by DJ Milky with art by Kei Ishiyama, and the colorist is Dan Connor.
This was actually the first free comic book day comic that we ran out of. They did a free comic day version of this for the day, and then we were subscribed to it anyway, so we're actually picking up the series too. And it was gone. And that book, like Bleeding Cool did this fucking article on like, you can sell your free comic book day haul for $243. Like some of these, like this one's going for $10 if it's a free comic book day edition. And it always happens every year, but then it cools off and nobody cares because some shops have extras and they find one way to get it. So if you're trying to invest in free comic book day books, don't do that. So I thought that was really interesting because The Nightmare Before Christmas, I thought that whole thing was done.
Never. The same kids who are listening to Gerard Way still like on Nightmare Before Christmas.
Like, I was on that same kick where I was buying some statues with Jack Skellington, some t-shirts, and I think along with everyone else, like the sales dropped. You started seeing less Jack Skellington stuff out there, and I lost interest as well. And then I ended up subbing to this, so that should have been the first indication, like, oh yeah, that's still popular. Like, of course, I was a fan too.
Right.
If I'm reading it, there's probably others that subscribe to it. And sure enough, we sold out at my local comic shop. It's still in print though, so we ordered more. Down to 1 copy again, so I've got to order more if it's still in print. The free comic book day one's out of print, and those are gone. Those were the first ones that left on Saturday. So it's like, holy shit, this sequel to the movie has some fucking fire under it.
Well, I think something really good about this. So you were, of course, much younger when you were really into this. And so for you, it's nostalgia to go back and read it. But at the same time, all the people who it's also nostalgia for have children. And this would still be a great kids book. This is light. It's not a lot of dialogue, so it's really easy to flip through with a kid. It's a really easy read. And so, yeah, why not? It's a great time to bring it out. And from what I read, and I wasn't huge into Nightmare Before Christmas, I never was, but it was still a fun story.
Yeah, this one, as we said, it is a sequel. To those of you wondering, is this a retelling of the movie? No, they've done that already. It exists as a manga that you can get, and it's really cool because there's original drawings. It's not just the movie adapted. There's original stuff in there. But for this one, it does take place after the movie, but it's not a direct like, oh, now they're gonna go into St. Patty's Day, door. It's actually Zero going back to Christmas Town, and then the plot develops from there. He interacts with characters that we haven't seen before, like the owl, and characters that we only saw very briefly or were just mentioned, like what I'm assuming is Mrs. Claus.
She's evil.
Maybe it's Oogie Boogie. I don't know.
Whoa.
So there's a lot there. It's not like you don't have to have seen the movie to like immediately. You don't have to rewatch the movie to read this comic. Like, you'll be fine just jumping into it, even if you haven't seen the movie in years. So I think it's a solid read. I do recommend it, and the artwork is very manga-ish. It does read from right to left, so it is backwards from comics. The panels, if you've read manga, fit exactly the same, but it's actually in the format of an American comic book.
So with that, guys, we will actually wrap up our show for this week. I finished my coffee and I feel great. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, at Kelli. You can go over to thereasonsimbroke.com, see all the different podcatchers that we're listed on, visit our shop through there. And there's more things, I'm sure.
Yeah, we had a nice uptick in downloads last month compared to the month before that. So we want to thank everyone so much for spreading the word about the show, for your support last week for the Mr. Riggs episode. Brian actually said that. He's like, yeah, I finished last week's episode, and it was a little bit shorter than your standard. And I was like, oh, I still got time. And he was doing work at the time. And he's like, well, I went back and listened to the older Mr. Riggs episodes. And I did too. I was like, I've got to go back and listen to the one where we did Wizard World Chicago 2016. And then the Trivia Time with Mr. Riggs, which are both in the description. So some of the to me some of the more personal episodes, I guess, because I'm a little bit different around them, and I'm a little bit different around you and Leo and customers, and it's like you kind of turn on different types of your personality. So that's one side that you saw last week, and it's just with Clayton and Riggs. So thank you so much to all the kind words about that episode and for coming back for today's episode. Thank you again. I'm Daniel.
I'm Kelli.
And we'll see you next week.